Friday forecast time, Nebraska at USC. But before we get into the Trojans, Sean?
This report brought to you by PrizePicks. Get in all the action, not just college football, pro football, whatever you want, Andy, to put your guests on. It's as simple as higher or lower. Pick your favorite stat category. Win up to 10 times your money at PrizePicks. Simply use the promo code HuskerOnline. We're going to give you $50 for your first deposit. We'll match that with promo code HuskerOnline.
All right, let's talk about this game. Obviously, the week starts after the bye week. They were busy, obviously, because the week starts with a bombshell from Matt Rule. I think we all knew what the bombshell was, but to have it explained in terms of what the priorities would be, that was big.
Yeah, you kind of had the sense, too, it was going to be a big week, just even with how prompt things started and the email kind of letting us know to make sure we're there at 11:30. It just had a different feel than a normal Monday, and immediately Matt Rule jumped right into it, that Dana Holgorsen is going to call the plays, and he's going to be their offensive coordinator. And I think that was the smart approach for Nebraska moving forward, because if Holgorsen was around and if you tried to kind of hide his presence, I don't know if that would have been the right message. If he is behind the scenes directing the traffic, you got to come out and say it. And I think Matt Rule, I give him a lot of credit for doing that, because Satterfield is extremely close to Rule. And for him to kind of make a move like this to one of his most loyal lieutenants, that had to not be easy.
And this is kind of a unique situation. Obviously, a week and a half ago, Dana Holgorsen wasn't a part of this program. Now he's running the offense. Did it surprise you?
A little bit, but at the same point, there's been a dialogue with Holgorsen since January when he was in Lincoln, and it didn't work out at that point. I think back then Holgorsen wanted to come to Nebraska, or was interested, but only in the role of play caller. Dana Holgorsen is not a supporting actor. He's a lead role guy. You know, he's coming in to run the kitchen. And, you know, for Dana Holgorsen, I think that was the only way he'd come to Lincoln in that role, you know, to have an opportunity to work with Dylan Raiola, run the offense. And things have sputtered over the last 6 weeks. Nebraska's offense, I believe it's 8 picks over their last 4 games, just 1 touchdown pass over the last month. There's just been a lot of things that have not worked. And the running game, Andy, has not been what it needs to be. And maybe a few wrinkles and a fresh set of eyes with the same terminology, you're going to see a different result at USC.
And a unique week, no doubt, because Matt Rule is the only person from Nebraska speaking this week. No players, no coordinators. It's just the head coach. And I thought what was interesting on Monday is that Matt Rule, when asked, does this change your offensive philosophy? He said no. They're just going to stick with what works and just maybe simplify things, right?
Yeah, I think the playbook is the playbook at this point, and the terminology is the terminology, and they've got to get Holgorsen caught up on those things and say, all right, now you've got it all. You run the offense with this, and then over time his things will be worked in. But, you know, just some of the things that he'll bring. I'm just so interested in the short passing game. You know, and how much trouble Nebraska's had with the screen game and the short passes, because that is a big part of some of the things that he's done over his coaching career.
And last time we saw Dylan Raiola, he was limping off the field at Memorial Stadium after that loss against UCLA, and his priority obviously was to get better. Matt Rule wouldn't say yes or no whether or not he would have been ready if there was a game last Saturday, but still a concern going into USC, his health?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is something to watch. Because I don't know, you know, he didn't get himself ready, obviously, to play if it was on Saturday. And I think Tuesday's the big day this week. You know, without access to, with Rule that during the week, it's hard to know. But the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will tell the rest of the story for Dylan Raiola and what that looks like as far as that back and the contusion that he suffered during that game against UCLA.
Let's talk defense now. Obviously, another set of eyes and a new voice on defense. But Phil Snow, who has been a longtime lieutenant for Matt Rule, has been with the program, unbeknownst to a lot of fans, all year long.
Yeah, he's been a paid consultant for Nebraska all year, and Troy Nannon confirmed that to us on an interview we did last week on HuskerOnline. That, you know, yeah, his presence in the building was new, but his presence as far as a remote analyst has not been new, and that's pretty common. I mean, you see a lot of coaches do that. That are out of maybe head coaching, work as a consultant. I mean, Scott Frost did that when he was like going to Nebraska. I know a year ago he worked in a consulting role, and so it's not uncommon to see guys do that here and there. But having him come to town over the bye and be a part of some of the meetings and some of those things, that was definitely interesting. But Phil Snow, highly respected in the coaching industry.
No question. And they got a challenge this week because USC is making some changes too, right?
Jada Maeva, the UNLV quarterback, will start for the Trojans. He was once committed to Georgia in the transfer portal. He went on the portal late in January after UNLV lost its bowl game to Kansas, was a hot commodity, and he had Miami on him even at one point. When you have Miami, USC, and Georgia all on you in the portal, that tells you you're a pretty good quarterback. Maeva switched to USC. He'll now take over as the guy. You'll get an all-Polynesian quarterback matchup with Maeva versus Dylan Raiola. So that's its own little storyline there on the side. But I really like Maeva. I've seen him. I've watched him a lot over the last year. And with Lincoln Riley coaching him, it's scary because this could be a very tough matchup.
Yeah, Maeva also gives that running element that perhaps they didn't have at USC. Okay, finally, moving forward, how big of a 3-game stretch is it? Is it too big to overstate how important these 3 games are?
Yeah, they're all big. And look, Nebraska's a dog right now at USC by 7 to 9.5 points. Kind of the number has wiggled a little bit here and there. The Wisconsin game's probably a coin flip, and they're probably a dog at Iowa. But the reality is the Big Ten is this. There's 4 teams that are clearly better than everybody else. There's 13 teams right now that are stuck between 4 and 6 wins. Nobody's at 7. Nobody's at 8. They're all at 4 to 6. Nebraska is in this giant just mosh pit of teams just punching at each other. And at one point, it looked like they could get to the top of that pile. Now they're back towards the bottom. UCLA, who we ruled out of the thing, is going back up.
Yeah.
Iowa and Minnesota had a chance a week ago to move up the pile. They both lost. So it is just interesting when you look at the parity in this league with 13 teams that are all kind of thinking the same way Nebraska is. They've had moments, but nobody really feels great about their team. And how this last 3 weeks finishes will really define a lot of the year.
No question about it. It is certainly a rugby scrum here, as we'll see how it all shakes down. The stretch, 3 games to go. Nebraska at USC Saturday. It's a 3 o'clock start. It's on Big Fox.